All righty, we are now live. Hold your peace, whatever you're going to say about your spouses. Save it for some other time when it's not being recorded. Welcome. For those online, my new drink this week is the A&W Ice Cream Sundae. This is 0 sugar. Found it when we were in Tennessee.
Sounded good until you said 0 sugar.
Yeah, well, they have a full sugar. They have a full sugar amount, but I had to laugh because it was one of those things where we were getting some snacks and we're in the supermarket, and I just happened to see they had cases of these sitting there, and I was like, But you couldn't buy just one. You had to get the little case. So it was like, all right, give me the case. So I said, it's either going to be great or it's going to be awful. And it's not bad. It's really not bad. I like them cold, definitely. So get them cold. But it kind of tastes like a cream soda with some root beer. It tastes like ice cream sundae, like kind of what you would expect. So I'm like, okay, they might have done okay, but I haven't found it up here. I haven't looked real hard, but
so it might sound like more like a root beer float.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Where it's all mixed together.
Yep, that's kind of what it tastes like. So if you run across them, I don't know if it's something regional down there or if they got them national, but I brought home a case of them. So drink them slowly, throw them in the fridge, and sit down. So today, hopefully, we'll get through all of this. This is sort of our long passage, at least in terms of story. Remember, once again, I was kind of talking about, the promises that he makes in terms of Messiah within the Pentateuch are kind of like way stations. You have the promise in the beginning, and I sort of wrote this out beforehand, given to Adam and Eve, that the one born of man will crush the head of the serpent. That's sort of the first promise. Then you work your way through people, and these are just some of the bigger players. You get to Noah, and it's Abraham before you really get another promise that's related to the Messiah, that the world will be blessed through your seed. And then what we're really going to get into here is the story that progresses through the rest of Genesis, which is the life of Isaac, of Jacob, and of Joseph at the end. And the story of Joseph really ends the book of Genesis. Now, within these, you have maybe some reiterations of the promises of the Messiah, that the line is continuing, but you don't tend to have a whole lot of explicit promises. And as we had talked about before, you will see types, shadows of the coming Messiah. You'll see examples, perhaps. But you see them and you recognize them because you know who Jesus is. It's a little hard, I would say, if you were coming from the bottom up to go, oh yeah, that makes absolutely perfect sense. That totally, I understand that. But with Jesus and knowing who he is, how he's come, we definitely can look back and go, yeah, that makes sense. That's how Jesus really fulfilled that type and shadow. So I'm just kind of working my way through the story. We'll talk about some of those types and shadows as we see them, then we'll stop at the promises. But throughout this whole thing, I think the big question is, where is the promised one? Where is this one that God has promised? And you'll see that eventually they're going to even transition away from waiting for the promised one to getting the promised land. And they're going to transition, and they're going to be looking at things, and they're going to be looking at other things rather than going back to this promise. They're going to be looking at other things. Where is our king? We need our king. We need all of these things. They're going to kind of lose the message as it keeps going. But ultimately, the original promise, the one born of man that will crush the serpent, is the one to keep in front of you. So we ended last time. Actually, why don't we open up with a word of prayer? I may need it. My head's going to spin all around as I talk my way through this. Father, thank you for bringing us together. Thank you for letting us look in this scripture to see you interacting with your people. Their history is our history. Their history is our promise that came in Jesus. And I ask you to help us remember that, to look for that, to see that, and to trust in it. Father, give us clarity, give us insight, and let your Spirit guide us in all truth. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so last time we had left off with the what is generally known as the sacrifice of Isaac. What parent hasn't dreamed of sacrificing their kid for the greater good? Even for the lesser good. Maybe even no good, but that's okay. So then we pick up with that. And the interesting part, so there, right there, I'm keeping a list. Maybe you're keeping a list. I have the promises list, the two big promises of the Messiah. Then kind of on the back, I've also got the types and shadows and the types that we're seeing. And the sacrifice of Isaac is a type. God is asking for sacrifice. And Abraham kept saying, God will provide, God will provide. Did he know what God was going to provide? Probably not. And as far as he was concerned in faith, he was going to offer that sacrifice. But God says, no. I'm giving you the sacrifice. You will not sacrifice your son, as others in society around him would have done. Now, we know how that ends. What he's saying to him is, you will not sacrifice your son, but I'm going to bring a sacrifice that's going to take care of all of this for you once and for all, and it will be my son. Once again, something we can recognize from this side of things that we might not see as we're reading forward. What you get out of the story is God is a good God who would not ask for that human sacrifice. Absolutely.
I have a Jewish friend who would say, what kind of God would ask somebody to do something like that? But what is wrong with God? If you would request that of a parent.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yep. It's a good attitude probably within this generation. Thinking of those times, though, people did sacrifice other people. Children viewed as property, a means to an end. The son, and now in this case, Isaac's the son of the promise.
Mm-hmm.
So Abraham's faith is almost being doubly tested. Not only is he being told, sacrifice this child, it's like sacrifice the child that, is supposed to be my seed. We haven't exactly had a track record when it comes to other children.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm supposed to sacrifice this one, and God is saying, go and do. He's testing that faith. So, yes, it sounds awful and horrible, but perhaps not as not as non-understandable as people in today's culture might see it, where we certainly value children more.
The bottom line is that God did not allow him to sacrifice.
Did not want to do it. Yeah, did not want him to do it. He was testing, he was checking his faith. And because Abraham comes through that, his faith is strengthened. He comes through that test. He's found God is faithful to him. So we move on from that story. I would have loved to have heard that discussion with Sarah later. We were out. Oh, yeah, I was going to carve him up, but we didn't. Didn't do it. Trust me. I'm sure that would have been a good husband and wife conversation. Then we get a list. I love these. More children, the growth of Abraham's family. It's sort of weird, but they continue growing. Then we get into chapter 23 with Sarah, and she dies. Now, where is she buried?
Oaks of Mamre?
So what would be so significant about that?
That's where Abraham was and Sarah when the three visitors came, and they were told the prophecy that Sarah in the next year would have a child, a son,
Yes, and what land is it?
probably Palestine.
Canaan. Land of Canaan, the land that eventually is going to be the promised land. But he comes and he says, let me buy this land. And they sort of, as I recall, they were going to give it to him or let him do it. It's like, no, this needs to be my land. So he gives them money for it, purchases the cave, wherever it is that he's going to bury her, and he buries her in the promised land, even though it's not the promised land at this point. But he buries her in there. It becomes his little slice of the area. So that's a little story there. Now we get into the story of Isaac and Rebekah. Everybody always loves this story. Always involves cute little camels. Servant being sent to find a wife for Isaac. Abraham sends him. He tells him to go where?
Where he came from.
Basically. Sorry, if my wife is on daughter. You will not take a wife for my son from the daughters. Let's try speaking in English. You will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell, but will go to my country and to my kindred and take a wife for my son Isaac. So the interesting part you have here is that unlike all these other sons, and this is going to be a theme through the rest of this, when you have Jacob and Esau, that's going to be a big theme. The one that is faithful in the line keeps going back to the family, the faithful family that they had to find the wives for their sons. They're not taking a wife from among the pagans around them in Canaan. So the servant goes back. Anybody remember the little deal or the little, I guess, game that the servant played in terms of finding out who this wife was going to be?
About water in the camels.
Yes. You guys sit down. He's been traveling. He's been taking a herd of camels and everybody with him. And he's like, I'm going to sit down. He's like, God, if you've got somebody for Isaac here, if I request a drink, but she also gives water to the camels, takes care of them, this is going to be the woman.
She must have been really strong. Water all those camels.
Strong like ox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big, strong girl.
I don't know. Big, strong girl. But I don't know. They don't give you a description.
You're a water camel.
No. Yeah. But he goes, he rests, finds a woman, and says when she had finished giving him a drink, she said, I will draw water for your camels also until they have finished drinking. So he's like, aha, got it. So he goes to her home, gives her jewelry immediately, gives her, proof of wealth, proof of the ability to sustain a wife, goes back to her family, begins the negotiations, and says, we want her to come back and be a wife to my master's son. What a deal. It's such a foreign concept. We kind of sit and listen to it, and we're sort of like, okay, we get it. We can see it in our heads. I can't imagine. It's like getting mail order brides in the ultimate extreme, in a way. You know, this idea that people romantically fall in love and then they date for a while and then they get together and maybe they get married. It's like, yeah, no.
I have a question here.
Uh-oh.
Read what he gave her, the servant gave to Rebecca. When the camels had, in verse 22, it came
Mhm.
about when the camels had finished drinking, that the man took a gold ring weighing a half shekel,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 bracelets for her wrists weighing 10 shekels in gold. Now, how much is a shekel?
Trying to figure out how much gold you're getting out of this deal.
Yeah, but what it strikes me is kind of like, here's your handcuffs, ma'am. We're gonna take you to a foreign land.
I mean, you can look at that way, and unfortunately, though, I would say there are many a jeweler who would say the same thing exists today. They just call them diamond rings and other things that they hand out. The basic monetary unit of modern Israel equal to 100 agorot. That's so helpful.
There you go. It's
That's
100 acre.
so helpful. Monetary, an agorot is a monetary unit of Israel equal to 1/100th of a shekel. I'm feeling a very like,
See how much a shekel weighs.
yeah,
How much does a shekel weigh?
100 acre.
According to Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, the term shekel
oh,
has been
11
used for a
grams.
unit of weight, around 9.6 or 9.8 grams, used in Bronze Age Europe for balance weights.
Okay, 9.8 grams?
Yeah, so 10 grams.
Okay.
So,
Not a lot.
no, it's not super a lot.
What is an English shekel?
I got people over here using AI in the corner.
According to Hebrew Pod 101, in Israel, the currency is the shekel. At the time of writing this, the exchange rate is roughly 4 shekels to the US dollar and 0.25 US dollars to 1 shekel.
0.17 pounds. So an ounce.
0.17 pounds. Okay. Mary's curiosity has been satisfied now. She got some nice shiny things, which seems to me to still be the standard by which we operate today. Just saying, there are some women attracted by shiny things. But, I mean, in a way, though, you know, different time, different standard in the sense of he's showing it to her, not in the sense to impress her, make her all googly-eyed. He's giving it to her as a gift and to show the value of the family, to be able to say, hey, we can hand this along, we can support. You know, he's coming for a wife, and it's a wife he'll be able to support, and myself and my 10 camels behind me say that we're able to do this and we're not just making stuff up. So the servant goes to meet with the family. They negotiate her price. And he brought out all of the things. So they sent away Rebekah, their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant and his men. They blessed Rebekah and said to her, so this is Rebekah's family blessing her, our sister, may you become thousands of 10,000s, and may your offspring possess the gate of those who hate him. That's the blessing of the family given to Rebekah. Now, they got no idea what they're getting into, but truly amazing. Then the servant comes back. He brings Rebekah to Isaac. And then in the weirdest twist of all, it's not really a twist, it's been done since the beginning of history, but I laugh when I read it. It says, then Isaac brought her into the tent of Sarah, his mother, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. So Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Okay. Brought her to the tent, got on with the husband and wife business. In his mother's tent. And felt better. Okay.
Okay.
I think what it's saying is that Isaac was a mama's boy. Potentially. But that's okay. Gotta have him.
It was for good reason.
Yeah, yeah. I just find that one of those weird little verses in Scripture. Like, okay, did I need all that detail? No.
Was that maybe another case of this was part of the culture?
Oh, absolutely. This is all part of the culture. I mean, this is, yeah. Yeah, you have to look at things different. But it's okay. It's funny to see how human nature has not necessarily changed throughout all this time either. So we get through that story. What do we take away from that down this line? It's that Isaac, who's going to carry on this tradition as well, gets his wife not from the Canaanites, but from the faithful people of the family. So it's continuing this faithfulness. Then it says, Abraham took another wife. She bore him many other sons. But to the sons of his concubines, Abraham gave gifts, and while he was still living, he sent them away from his son Isaac eastward into the east country. So, this is where it gets interesting, because remember, we're told that part of the blessing was your children will be as numerous as the stars in the sky. Can you count them? The grains of sand in the desert. Yes, that is speaking of the promise that's carried on through Isaac and through everybody to the Messiah and the family that's going to be built there, but apparently it also applied to the earthly family that Abraham was also carrying on here, because it says he married again, and it says he had concubines and he had other children. That's why I'm saying you got to get out of this sort of naive view of Abraham in some ways. His family, his power did extend. And the thing I find fascinating about that little part is it says before he died, he said, here's a nice little package. Go. Get away from Isaac, the favored son, the one who's going to be there. Because remember, these are a nomadic people. These are people who have good land, good area, but they move around. They take care of sheep and animals and all sorts of things, camels. And so they're looking for the good land, and he takes these concubines and other children of his and says, go that way. So Isaac is still favored. But it's just a weird view, because when was the last time we taught this one in Sunday school? I don't recall it ever coming up with the little kids. And Abraham looked at his concubines and said, go that way. It's okay.
So the concubines aren't listed here, it's just the wife, Keturah?
Took another wife, Keturah, she bore him, sons of, and then you have all those. But to the sons of his concubines, Abraham gave gifts in verse 6.
Why did he do, he was over 100 years old. Is this normal?
I'll let you know when I get over 100 years old. I don't know. Yeah, you wouldn't think he'd have the energy, but apparently he was a strong man, still moving. Now it says and these are the days of the years of Abraham's life, 175 years. You can always ask yourself how that happens, why that happens, have no idea. Long life appears to have been a different property coming out of the garden at that point. People lived long, extended lives, and as time goes on, lives seem to shorten to what we would recognize as more of 100 years, 75 years. But you see here, and we get into it, you find out about the people who are living around Abraham's son Isaac. These are the generations of Ishmael. So Hagar, the Egyptian, and all those people, and all the people settling the land around them are relatives, distant relatives. So Abraham really did become the father of many, many nations. But that's ultimately not the fulfillment of the final promise. That's not what God was really telling him, but Abraham did his darndest. Then we have two people born, troublesome little people, Esau and Jacob. So we're told from the very beginning, 2 nations are in your womb, 2 peoples from within you shall be divided. The one shall be stronger than the other, the older shall serve the younger. The scandal of that, I think, really doesn't hit us anymore. The idea that Jacob is the primary carrier of God's promises in this case. We don't have that sense of, really, what in the heck are you talking about? But Esau's the first one. Esau's born. We're told he comes out and his body comes out red, his body like a hairy cloak, so they called his name Esau. Afterwards, his brother came out with his hand holding Esau's heel, so his name was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old. I'm tired at 51. 60. Ugh. And this is going to be another sign of Israel and things that go on. I mean, some of this relates to Jesus and the coming of Jesus. Other parts of these stories relate to us and what we're like and why Israel fails and why we fail and why we struggle. The boys grew up. Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, while Jacob was a quiet man dwelling in tents. I don't know what that means. Dwelling in tents, hung around, maybe conducted business, maybe took care of things towards a home. Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. But parents don't have favorites, right? Never. But they do. And imagine how much worse it is in this kind of situation where you've got, polygamous marriages. You've got multiple wives. You've got people and jockeying for position. Now you have Jacob, and we get into that. Jacob was cooking stew. Esau came in from the field, and he was exhausted. And Esau said to Jacob, "Let me eat some of that red stew, for I'm exhausted." Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright now." Why? What are these little games they're playing? And Esau's like, "Fine, you can have it. I'm hungry." There is some... does that mean God suddenly was like, "Okay, you lost your birthright, so that's what's happening"? I mean, some things portend future problems. Other things are the cause of future problems. I think in this case it is it portends. It shows what's going to happen in the future. What could Esau do to give it away? What it shows is that Esau maybe didn't care, that Esau was more interested in his own things. But what we're going to get out of this part of the story is another thought. And the thought is that God doesn't work on our system of right and wrong, or fairness, or how the world should work. And that's probably a good idea, because who gets all the good stuff in a family? Who gets to be in charge? Who carries the honor for the family?
Back then it was the oldest.
The firstborn. Darn it, they carry the name. They get the double portion of any inheritance. They take care of business. They're the ones that are supposed to do. And what has God said to all of this so far?
I'm going to choose.
Okay, you guys have thoughts. You guys think, and there's nothing wrong with these sorts of thoughts, rights, and responsibilities. The funny part is we think we're somehow tying God's hands in how he's going to work. And he's saying, no, 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 I have a plan. We're going to go through this, and it's not going to be Esau.
You don't see in any of this an attitude of the firstborn or the one that's assumed to be the leader, an attitude of taking on the responsibility in order that he can help the others. It's for self-gratification, aggrandizement, whatever.
Well, you don't. I mean, in this case, I wouldn't want to. What do I want to say about that?
Go where Scripture isn't necessarily going.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you sort of don't have enough to really build a psychological study of Esau.
There you go.
It's very hard. We know what he does. We understand. I mean, he welcomes him back later on.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for when we get there.
Yeah.
If anybody hasn't read the Bible before, he's going to welcome him back, and he's going to seem happy to see him. We don't know of any why not. When Jacob took off, was Esau like, peace and quiet at last, okay. You sort of don't know. He was annoyed that the blessing had gone. He was certainly angry, which we're going to get to once again, part of it. But he's not, you don't know. There's just not, this is not a character study. Because the story is really about, I'm going to do this carefully because my shoulder is still killing me, Jesus, the Messiah. Yeah, this is really bad. I got to get to the doctor. Okay. So, God promises to Isaac. Now, there was a famine in the land beside the former famine that was in the days of Abraham. It's like, surprise, famine part 2. Isaac went to Gerar, and Abimelech, king of the Philistines. And the Lord appeared to him and said, do not go down to Egypt. Dwell in the land of which I shall tell you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. For to you and to your offspring I will give all these lands. And I will establish the oath that I swore to Abraham your father. I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven. I will give to your offspring all these lands. And in your offspring all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. So we have kind of a reiteration of the promise given to Abraham was mentioned now to Isaac. Interesting, he says, don't go to Egypt. I don't know if you've never really thought about this, but Egypt tended to be looked at as the big, stable country, a place of safety, a place of refuge. Later on in Israel's history, there's a reason why they kept trying to form alliances with Egypt when everybody from the east was getting ready to barrel on down through them. Because Egypt had armies, Egypt had some stability. It was a big country. Everybody looked at it and said, oh, that must be great. You're okay. So yeah, the first thought of famine. Now you think to yourself, why go to Egypt? What does Egypt have? Water, the Nile. The Nile that floods every year and comes down and creates these nice, lush growing spaces. So the first thought when you're in this dry and barren area, not totally barren, I mean, there's stuff by the water, but where they are, it's like, I need to go someplace where they can grow food and have things. Egypt is great, so I'm sure it crossed their minds. Let's head over there. And God says, no, no, no. Stay with me. Trust me. Now he's going to change his mind and change his mind. Does God change his mind? That's a lesson for another day. God's going to modify his plan later on and allow them to go to Egypt. Maybe we'll rephrase it that way. But for now, he says, stay here. The blessing is still coming. It says Isaac sowed in that land. He came down. You have sort of this first idea of where, so Isaac could not really tell the truth about his wife. Seems to be a common problem he has, and, eventually Abimelech, the king, says, hey, nobody touched them. She's really his wife. If we had taken her, we'd have had problems. So Isaac settles in this land that God told him to, and he is successful. Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100-fold.
Doesn't he take after his father in that respect?
It seems they've learned some bad habits. Hey, we're not going to tell the truth all the time.
Sounds a little psychoanalytic to me. I don't know.
Well, we're all products of our fathers in one way or another. Yeah, we got problems. Man became rich and gained more and more until he became very wealthy. And Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we." So they were doing so well that eventually even the people there said, you need to go. You're getting to be too much to handle. Sound familiar? We'll run into this in Egypt eventually. Isaac departed from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar and settled there, and he dug again the wells of water that had been dug in the days of Abraham his father. So they had a great system. They had wells, they had water, they had greatness, and we were told before the Philistines had come and filled in all the wells. Why? I don't know. Apparently that's what Philistines do. That's why they're Philistines. I don't know. But they did, and basically Isaac came and rehabbed the area and brought it back. He had success wherever he went. The Lord appeared to him the same night. He had gone up to Beersheba and had said, "I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with you and will bless you and multiply your offspring for my servant Abraham's sake." So he built an altar there and called upon the name of the Lord and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. Digging a well in a dry country is a great thing. You get water. More digging, more wells. Now here's the part I like because we get into it later, but you get down to like verse 34 here. Jacob and Esau, it says, when Esau was 40 years old, he took Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, to be his wife, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And they made life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. It's like a little footnote. And we get into it more later on, but it's like, okay, in case you just needed to know this little detail. Esau was being entirely unfaithful to his God, to his family. He's marrying from the Canaanites among him. But my favorite is the line, and they made life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. So apparently there was some tension. There was some problem developing in the family because of Esau's actions. Went out and did his own thing.
That doesn't sound too familiar.
You never hear that happening in families today, do you? No. So, Isaac was old, his eyes were dim. It's time to bless his sons. Rebecca gets an idea. Does it feel good that we keep using your name, Miss Rebecca? Nothing personal. But Jacob's mother gets an idea. She wants the blessing to pass to him. And this giving of the blessing, yes, it's a one-time thing. It's a very important, call it ritualistic, whatever. I don't think I would call it supernatural. I don't think it's, doesn't appear, I don't even know exactly what to say about it. I don't think it's like, boom, you've been blessed and suddenly spiritually you're a whole different person or something new, but it's certainly ritualistic in the sense of it's taken very seriously, and once it occurs, it occurs. That's it.
There was a pop Christian book probably 20 years ago called The Blessing that looked at building people up who felt they had not received the affirmation, if you will, in their household based on this idea.
Yeah. I mean, we certainly don't bless. I don't know. We baptize. We certainly do. But I mean, even parents, I think sometimes I wonder is, do you bless your child? You wish them well. You check on them, but I don't know that we often bless them.
When we pray for somebody, if we concentrated prayer over somebody, especially if somebody's present and there's a prayer need, and people weigh in and pray for them.
Potentially, but I also see this as being more of a direct, you're holding their hand. You're really, you're speaking to them and to God and to their immediate situation in some way. Like I don't know, I don't want to make this sacramental per se.
Seems to give them a position of importance.
Oh, it does. I mean, that's why I say
Personal
ritualistic,
Yes.
in that it implies something.
I value you.
Yeah. From a ritualistic sense, I absolutely am 100% there. I just don't know spiritually. That's where the prayer and God's work and what He's doing in the Spirit can lead
Yeah.
on that. But I don't want to say like, oop, you put your hands up and it's voila, a magic formula. But I think even today though, we don't do it as often, at least intentionally. I don't know that we're always taught to bless. It's certainly not something I thought about till I became Lutheran.
Yeah. Did you see it in the Catholic faith, Catholic practices?
Did I see it? I don't know that I saw it. I mean, I've heard of that. I mean, you have blessings. You've heard of like pastors going to bless houses before they go, or various other, the blessing of the animals, where they would do that. Now, what happens there? I don't know. Bless them before they hit the barbecue. That would be something. Maybe we should all head on down to Saddleback and have a blessing before they put something on the smoker. But, what does it mean? What does it do? That's something. Yeah. Within evangelical circles, I think you've got two sides. You've got one side that would say, I've never really thought about it and don't think about it. You've got another side that's so overly supernatural in their thinking, they probably give too much importance to something like that. Have I wandered way off topic now? Let's go back to the story. Something to think about, but we know Rebekah, who favored Jacob, good, bad, or indifferent, it was God's plan that Jacob was going to carry this along with Isaac's blessing. They deceive him. Rebekah cooks the food. Obviously, Rebekah had taught the sons how to make the stew and could make it as good as Esau. Sends him in there. I still don't know about that one. Was it the hair of the goat or the sheep or whatever that he put on his arms? I'm looking, but you'd have to wonder how hairy that guy is to really think about that one. Isaac passes along the blessing. So what does he see? See, the smell of my son is as the smell of the field that the Lord has blessed. Man, how that goat must have smelled. May God give you the dew of heaven and of the fatness of the earth and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. Prophetic in a way. And he hands that out, thinking he's giving it to Esau. And Esau comes in, finds out about it. Now, interestingly, Isaac gives this prophetic once again to Esau when Esau's like, is there nothing left for me? And Isaac says to him, behold, away from the fatness of the earth shall your dwelling be, and away from the dew of heaven on high. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you shall break his yoke from your neck. Conflict, want, need, all of these things flowing through here. So it says, the days of mourning for my father are approaching. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. Is what Esau is thinking. A very, very Godfather sort of view in my mind. We'll wait until my father's dead, and then we will handle all family business at that time. So Jacob does what any reasonable person would do, is he packs up all his stuff and runs. He's sent off to more of the people, more of the families, the faithful one, Laban. And what a joke this is going to be, of the faithful people. He runs into who? Two sisters, Leah and Rachel. And he sees them, and he instantly falls in love with Rachel. Because apparently she's gorgeous. Where is the description? I still say Rachel. Okay, now as soon as Jacob saw Rachel, where was the description? Oh, I have all these things.
Chapter 29, verse 6.
Well, it's 17. Chapter 29, verse 17. Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was beautiful in form and appearance. So two sisters being described. One, it says Leah's eyes were weak. What does that mean?
It bags under her eyes.
Yeah, I don't
She was the hard worker.
Maybe, I don't know. And obviously she's the older sister, which we will find out in a little bit. But apparently there was a little something to be desired compared to Rachel, her younger sister. None of this at all can possibly be taken as a story where you go, wow, I wish I acted a little more like Jacob. There are no great actors in this story except God. God completing his will through highly imperfect people. Even the heroes of the story.
Yeah, it's true throughout the
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So when you read these things, you have to chuckle.
It's true in us.
Yeah. Now, I do want to point out, I sort of skipped over it, but we have another dream of God. It says Jacob had left Beersheba, went to Haran, and came to a certain place and stayed there that night. Taking one of the stones of this place, he put it under his head and laid down in that place to go to sleep. I mean, I got a sleep number, people. I need comfort. And he takes a stone and decides, hey, that's good. It says, and he dreamed. Behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and to your offspring. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. And in you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. So boy, oh boy, you get a bunch of promise there. You get a reiteration of the blessing that's going to come through the family line. You get a promise of the land. This land, this promised land is going to be his. His offspring, all the families of the earth are going to be blessed through this offspring. Once again, the seed of Abraham that we talked about before.
So it is singular, that noun. Your seed.
Yep, and in you and your offspring shall all the family of the earth be blessed. So, once again, the promise is reiterated for him. So we know we're on the right track. We're following this track of where this promise is going. I guess he had a good night's sleep. I can't imagine. You lay down, you see the ladder going up and down, the angels coming, God standing above, and your head on a rock. Then Jacob made a vow and said, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go and will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God, and this stone which I have set up for a pillar shall be God's house. And of all that you give me, I will give a full tenth to you. So you have lots of promises there, lots of vows, some made, some broken. God does not do because we make the vow.
Why was the Lord not already his God?
I mean, that's a question. That's a question.
This the first time they bring up tithing?
I think so. I mean, we're told, remember back with Melchizedek, we're told that he gave a tenth of what he had.
This isn't the first.
It's not the first time we hear it. It's probably a standard of giving. Give a tenth of the first fruits. A tenth of what I receive will go to you. I don't know when he says, if you do this and you shall be my God forever. I don't think it's implying that he wasn't his God before. I think it's a reiteration of the covenant, at least from, an affirmation of what he knew. I don't think it implies that he's saying, before this I was hanging out with Beelzebub and he was so much cooler than you. I think he's saying, no, this is what is, and this is what will be, and you will take care of me. Remember, these contracts, these covenants, usually God makes them, and God is the one who says, I will do this for you, and you will be my people. This is, in a way, this is worship. What is worship? God speaks to us, and we speak back to him what he says to us. So this is Jacob making this covenant, if you will, or echoing back to God what God has said to him. Now, how much can Jacob really carry this forward? I get to use that phrase a lot. We fail in every aspect of what we do. But this is the foundation of worship. God speaks to us. We echo back what he says. We remember his promises. We hold them, we keep them, we do. I do find it amusing that he says, if God will keep me in the way I go and will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear. Was his wardrobe down at that time? I suppose. I don't know. But
His accessories were apparently, he was using rocks as pillows.
yeah, the dude was sleeping on rocks, so maybe he was traveling light.
Just another stoner.
So it's I mean, I really do. I believe you can look at that as proto-worship. I don't think you look at it as, hey, this is great. Jacob made this promise. Isn't Jacob awesome? He's so great because he made this promise and he held to it. You know, you make promises all the time. I make promises all the time. How well do we hold to them? Probably not great, but you know who does hold to his promises all the time? God holds to those promises, always and forever. All right, I think we're going to hold there. We're going to hold there at that promise of God, and we will pick up next week with the saga of Leah and Rachel. Next week. I told you guys when I was putting this together, I thought this one was going to be long. So we will pick up next week then with the two sisters and why you should never get involved with sisters. And it will take us through the end of Genesis. Sound good? Why don't we close with a word of prayer? Father, thank you for letting us look at these promises and that we start to see where we have failed, where we have come short, and where you have done and promised and carried out everything for us. And let us rest in that. Let us find comfort in your faithfulness to us and not in what we think we're doing for you. I ask that you bless us as we prepare our hearts and our minds to come back on Sunday to hear your word. We ask that you bless Pastor as he prepares the word to be brought to us, and help us just to prepare our consciences, our hearts to come and receive you as we come for communion. Bless us now as we head into the world. Watch over us, keep us safe. Bless our families. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Cut that off. Seemed like a good breaking point there, right?
They finish your walk, Patrick?
Yeah, but I'm gonna have them tear it up again.